Oh, smartphone payment plans used to be confusing. AT&T Next makes it easy no matter who's doing the talking. I was actually a smartphone Next. What he means is get that new smartphone for $0 down.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican, and then to the socialist, or the Democrat socialist who intends on targeting Republicans. Yours truly in the hizzy this particular evening, along with Mary Brockman, my bouncer in chief. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be whoop, 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 dismissed. Glad to have Dave Newcomb Milner in the chat roll. And as well, our guest for the evening, Jeffrey Dove Jr., who is running in the 11th Congressional District of Virginia for the congressional seat. He'll be joining us at 10 minutes after the hour. We will be talking about Steve Scalise, Majority Whip, a man who loves baseball, a man who has a family, a man just doing his J-O-B. Having a little fun in the early morning with fellow Republicans, preparing for a partisan baseball game that's been going on for nearly 100 years, if not more. And what should happen? Merely, Smokey, love you, man. Glad to have you here. Merely just being in a place and time where a Democrat socialist who loved Bernie Sanders enough to call him the second coming of the Messiah called Obama decided to blast almost 100 shots onto the baseball field. And listen, if you don't know that there is a God who loves you so much, I want you to understand there is a God who so loved this world that he gave his only begotten son, that whomsoever believeth in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Steve Scalise, who may be in critical condition tonight at GW Hospital, but glory be to God. I believe it's GW, if not it's a hospital in Virginia. Glory be to God, only a bullet in the hip. Do you understand what 100 bullets sprayed in 8 minutes could have done to individuals like Rand Paul, who was out there, and others who didn't make it there for practice today? Y'all better believe. Y'all better believe. All right, that's all I got to say to you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how we start this. Here's the all, because this is going to be a jam-packed show. It is Sackheads Radio Night. On Sackheads Radio Night, you know, at 11 p.m. Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint, Sacco, and forgive me, BZ, come into the festive place. And we are a day before Sean Lewis becomes 40 years old, an old-timer. MedStar, thank you, Jeffrey. He's at MedStar, Washington Hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you all to know that our prayers are for Scalise and all the others who suffered injury this particular day, for their firmest and most sound recovery in the Lord. Our prayers even go and extend it to the family of the culprit. For much they will have to deal with over the next few weeks, if not months, regarding this particular activity. And for everyone in the congressional seats, we pray for your safety and strength. This is not a time for us to become anxious, to be making rash decisions regarding law. That's not what this is for. Thank you, Dave. Terrorists. You're right. But this is not that time period. And to Governor Terry McAuliffe, I am completely disappointed that you used this opportunity to politicize a terrorist action, a domestic terrorist action, for the call for gun control. Sad and pathetic. I'm sorry. You know how I need to get that out of the way, and Jeffrey Dove Jr. He'll take the rest of this particular evening. We'll talk with him, and then we have on Wednesday night as well Lonnie Poindexter, Ralph J. Chittams Sr., the Kraken, and Shannon Wright, who will be joining us this particular evening. It's a jam-packed show, but it's never too jam-packed to do the one thing that we love doing more than anything else, and that's allowing the kids to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We let the kids take it away. Put your right hand over your heart. This is Flag Day, everybody. Flag Day for live streamers. Big flag here. You streamers, flags behind me. Pledge allegiance to the United States of America. Woo! This is also Donald Trump's birthday, his 71st birthday. Happy birthday, President Donald Trump. Congratulations to you. Let us pick up the phone as we prepare to dial up none other than our good friend Jeffrey Dove, and we'll Skype him in. Get ready to make that phone call. Free promo for Skype. How about that? One ringy dingy, two ringy dingies, three ringy dingies. There we go. Hopefully we got all sound working. Good evening and welcome. Jeffrey Dove Jr., your return to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. So glad to have you on the air with us tonight. And what a tragic night that we have to return you, but you have a great sense of reasoning and hope for the 11th Congressional District of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we hope that you would be their representative in 2018. First and foremost, Steve Scalise, Majority Whip, playing baseball this morning, 6:30 in the morning, getting ready to leave the field. And the next thing we know, he's headed to the hospital in critical condition. Jeff, your thoughts as you began to get this information during the course of the morning?
I would say, first off, thanks for having me on the show again, Ken. I wish this was under way more positive circumstances.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the world we live in,
Exactly.
where we're constantly responding to issues such as this. And I can tell you, my Twitter feed is a constant barrage of thoughts and prayers going out for various reasons. I would say this morning, as I listened to what was going on in Alexandria, I found myself in awe of the fact that the Capitol Police were able to respond in such a quick and timely manner to eliminate the threat that was there.
Yeah.
And I'll say one thing about people is some people are wired to run towards problems and others are wired to run away. I learned that while I was in the military, and those ideals are applied to law enforcement as well. And you can see those individuals, even though they were wounded, they still went forward towards the problem and didn't run away from it.
You know, and it's amazing with the weapon that he had, spraying almost 100 bullets in 8 minutes. These guys had revolvers, and they got him at a distance of 50 yards. That's exceptional marksmanship, number one. But number two, you are exactly right, Jeff. The whole idea that people are willing to run towards their enemy and bring them down. A lot of people are referring to this day as a tragic day. I think it is one of the most glamorous days of God that we could possibly have. And let me say the reasoning for that. With the artillery that was used in today's firefight, literally only one person being shot in their hip and the others being shot in other areas. No one died that was aimed at. That is an amazing feat of God. Do you understand what I'm saying in that regard?
Yes, I do. We all know God is great.
Mhm.
And the fact that there weren't more people injured, even people not near that field,
Yes.
it is amazing to me with the amount of rounds that were fired. I can tell you a lot. A lot of rifles have a pretty far effective range, and so for the windows to be shot out that were, for people to be hiding behind vehicles and not get hit, that just shows how amazing God is and how He prevented it from being even worse than it could have been.
We're talking tonight with Jeffrey Dove Jr., who is running in the 11th Congressional District of Virginia. And quite frankly, the area Alexandria borders the congressional district that he is running in. And you were one of the first persons I thought about bringing on immediately tonight to talk about this, because when you describe Alexandria and maybe some areas of Fairfax, Prince William County, this is far and away out of the ordinary. It is extremely out of the ordinary. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, if you think about it, a park is one of the softest targets you could think of. Like,
Yeah.
there's typically not any police presence at parks.
Yes.
Unless there's some sort of history of drug selling or violence in that particular community. So for there to be a shootout at the scope of this one at a park is just an amazing thing that occurred today.
Mm-hmm. Now,
and that's something that you definitely wouldn't typically see in any of the parks throughout the two counties that I'll be representing at some point.
Exactly. And see, a way they were presenting it in some areas of cable news networking, and I'm not going to mention Fox News or MSNBC or CNN because I'm not that kind of person. But it was as if, forgive us, a commercial pops up. Thank you very much. We are talking tonight with Jeffrey Dove Jr. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all just don't know how quickly I want to get rid of this old system. But in terms of the area that we're talking about, this is a very coveted, peaceful area. It has been a practice field for the Republicans for the last 4 or 5 years. And it was such a peaceful experience that they didn't feel it unnecessary not to tell everybody yesterday that they would be practicing at this baseball field this morning from out of the congressional offices. Mind you, you've been in the military. Tell me, how much planning has to take place for an individual like this jerk to pull off a stunt like he did today?
With regards to knowing where the congressmen were, I'm not sure necessarily how he was able to find that information out.
Yeah.
But there had to be some measure of planning. Right before I came on, I was watching Tucker Carlson's show, and he was talking to the former mayor of Alexandria, and he mentioned that the guy was at the Y pretty much every morning for the past few months, and he spoke to him every day. So he could have been sitting there scoping out the area. I have no idea. That's what the former mayor of Alexandria just said on Tucker Carlson's show.
Exactly.
So yes, you are right. It does require a lot of planning. Whenever we went out on a mission, you're talking about not just a quick 1 hour plan thrown together.
Yeah.
That never happened.
Exactly.
You're talking about at least half a day or a day worth of planning before we even left the gate.
Exactly. And this guy put in a month worth of lead time on this. He's 66 years old, so he didn't have much else to do. But the concept here that's being reported, especially on the local Washington channels, like Fox News 5 and so on, is that somehow this was just a random act of violence. Would you consider this, in defining it, a random act of violence, or would you consider this an assassination attack on political figures?
Random act of violence to me is something like a road rage incident on 95.
Yeah.
Where someone shoots someone or hits their car into another car. That to me is a random act of violence. This seemed like a calculated decision that he made to come from Illinois and go to the DC area and not necessarily try something in DC.
Yes.
But I'm not necessarily sure if I'm ready to say it was an assassination attempt. Yeah, I'm not ready to lean towards that. There has to be more information.
Yeah.
Gained from the investigation. I mean, it's so early.
But commentators like myself, commentators like myself have been seeing since Donald Trump came down the escalator at Trump Towers and announced that he was running for office, violence towards Trump supporters. The beating of the white gentleman in Chicago, in San Jose, the egging and belligerence towards the woman who was trapped outside the hotel. There has just been a acceptable volume of violence towards people who support Donald Trump, and now it seems to have extended to a war between socialists or Democrat socialists and Republicans. Or am I being a little blustery here, over the top, hyperbolic in terms of that assessment?
I think there's been violence on both sides. It seems like it has escalated more recently. And I'll say we have to look back at Gabby Giffords, who was shot as well before. There wasn't necessarily an attack on the right. So right now, there's a lot of hate being spewed, whether it's through social media. Well, mainly on social media, I would say. Social media and in the mainstream media, you don't necessarily, I don't necessarily see that while I'm out campaigning.
Yeah.
From people in person. It's more of a I have this platform where I can somewhat be anonymous and say things and do things and stir the pot. But then you have the mental health issues that relate, end up causing some individual to run with the things that they've seen.
Exactly.
Or, hey, that's a good idea. I should go try that. So I think we have to be very careful with trying to put it necessarily on one side or the other. Because all it takes is one person to do something tomorrow, and you could say the shoe is on the other foot. So
that's very true. But what's seemingly blatant to us, all the way back to when Barack Hussein Obama, and we're talking tonight with Jeffrey Dub Jr., who's running in the 11th Congressional District of Virginia's Commonwealth for the congressional seat for 2018. Barack Obama stood at a podium and told the people back in 2008, get in the faces of others, yell at them virtually to get your point across. And it seems from that particular point on, there has been a license given and accepted by those in the media and elsewhere of retaliatory acts to the rhetoric of the right with violence. It just seems that way. And then you have Terry McAuliffe, the governor of your Commonwealth, who comes out and politicizes this event by saying that there's a need for gun control. Are those people who are watching around the country who are looking at this saying, wait a minute, all these pieces of the puzzle seem to be fitting, but nobody's saying that it's a puzzle yet? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. So to clarify my point earlier, what I wasn't saying that it was necessarily a Republican that hurt Gabby Giffords. What I was saying is
Yeah.
There was a victim on the other side.
Yeah.
It
Exactly.
wasn't necessarily both sides, performing violent acts towards the other. To go to your point about Terry McAuliffe today, the gun control debate shouldn't have even come up in this discussion.
Thank you.
This wasn't the forum or the time to do it. And then he was spewing some god awful statistics talking about 93 million Americans
every single day. 95 million Americans are killed every single day by guns. That's why you all have a budget crisis right now, because he's been in charge of the numbers.
So then it was interesting that a reporter had to stop him and say, "That's a pretty big number. Are you sure you don't mean 93?" So yeah, so that's our current governor, and hopefully that will change come November.
Exactly.
And we'll be able to turn Virginia red.
No, we're talking with Jeffrey Dove Jr., who's running for the 11th Congressional District of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I want to ask you, because you and I were both on the social media, Facebook this particular morning, on a morning where Shannon and Mike, the Shannon of the Right Way, began breaking this story early in the morning regarding the shooting of Steve Scalise, the Republican majority whip. And we were watching how, while the media was very slow to admit things, we knew well ahead of time of who the shooter was, what the scene looked like, the gun that the person had, how many rounds he went with. It seems that the social media journalists did a wonderful job reporting on this, but there are those who are on FNBC and others who are saying that kind of reporting is terrible. It's scary because you're getting out information too quickly. Now, do you have a problem with the journalism of this particular day, using social media and getting information out to people as quickly as possible?
So with regards to social media, it can be the quickest way to find out what's going on, right? But just like the mainstream media, we have those situations where the information is not necessarily that accurate as it's coming out. And I try to personally wait a bit until more of the story has come out. Because right now, a lot of the mainstream media, what they try to do is they try to beat the other channel, or they try to beat the other news outlet, and that can be harmful because you don't get a clear picture of what actually happened. Now, what was interesting about today was you got a lot of first-hand accounts from people who were actually there.
Yes.
Who were able to quickly explain what was going on, because a lot of the congressmen were on the news right away, explaining exactly what they saw.
Exactly. Now, as for you, you're running for office in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. We're praying for your success and victory in the coming months. And I have to ask you, because I looked at the congressman from Pennsylvania who didn't make it to the field because he missed a ride, but he seemed so shaken and so stunned. Has the job of being a congressman gotten too dangerous? Wouldn't you like to be just a council member from Prince William County, maybe? Or, is it too dangerous to be a congressman in this particular atmosphere of rhetoric?
So what I'll say to that is, I served in the U.S. Army, and I went to war. And when I was in war, with 4th ID and 3rd Special Troops Battalion, I went on well over 200 plus combat patrol missions. Okay, so I've been in, I'd say, way more hazardous conditions than I would face as a congressman. I mean, I run into, because I'm running for office, I run into them all the time. They're at all kinds of events.
Yeah.
None of them are like, a lot of them aren't like this particular situation where it was a pretty wide open environment. But they are out there, and we can't get away from that personal experience between the elected officials and the people.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that security for congressmen does need to be reevaluated.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say one thing that I heard earlier today was someone was proposing whenever you have a large number of congressmen that there should be more security with them.
Mm-hmm. Now you know.
Today you had, I believe, 12 or so on the field start.
Yeah, you had two that were basically on the field and others that were around, but no one expected in Alexandria. Let's just be real. No one expects anything to happen in Alexandria, Virginia. But I think the wildest thing that happens in Alexandria, Virginia, is when you get the rockfish season started in late June. I think that's the wildest thing that happens in Alexandria. So this person picked the right spot to do such devilish work. And I have a question to you regarding the safety and security. You know that congressmen are not allowed to defend themselves. They can't carry firearms with them. And one of the congressmen said to the FBI and to the press that I felt so vulnerable because the only thing I had and everything that was going on was a baseball bat. And we know how dangerous a baseball bat can be, but in this particular instance, that was it. This other guy has an AR and he's firing at will. Shouldn't congressmen like yourself in the future, shouldn't you be able to protect yourself by carrying or being licensed to carry a firearm?
So it's interesting. I live in the state of Virginia where you're not required to have a permit to have a firearm. I have multiple firearms and I have a concealed carry permit.
Yes.
And so I feel like they would be limiting me from being able to do what my state has, has given me the right to do.
Exactly.
If I wouldn't be able to have my firearms with me wherever I would go to protect myself and my family. I'm a new father. My daughter was actually born last Wednesday.
Congratulations.
So thank you very much. I'm very in tune to security right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's something like something that's been discussed is, engaging local police officers when you're going to go to an event or, have a town hall or something in that nature. I'm not sure what necessarily the answer is for this, but it does need to be looked at, especially in this climate.
Exactly. Now, you know that Hendrickson, the killer, the attacker who was killed, and I just want to correct something that was reported on Channel 5 News, local news in Washington, D.C. earlier. Donald Trump did not extend condolences for the gentleman who was killed. He just announced that the gentleman was killed. He did not extend condolences for that. And so when you listen to the left or the propagandists on the socialist side of news, they often try to give glory to the killer who is known as the victim. And in that particular case, that's not the case at all. He was a terrorist and he deserved his end. But being a new family man, are there those who are sitting around the house right about now saying, is it really worth being a black conservative Christian, going out, talking about changing America, transforming America back to its constitutional origins? Wouldn't it just be easier to stay on the sidelines at this particular point?
If I didn't do what I'm proposing to do, I would not be myself.
Yeah.
And I would be just living this regretful life that I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't trying to do this. You know how everybody has that calling in life?
Yes.
And I really realized after, work and school that my calling has always been public service, no matter what form it took. So my military service was one. I've worked in the government, and my wife works in the government, so we're very much attuned with public service.
Yes.
And this is just another avenue for me to be able to do that or scratch that itch.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier today, after Donald Trump spoke from the White House, the president spoke from the White House, the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, gave a very beautiful universal speak to the members of Congress. Behind him came the minority leader of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and she spewed such partisanship. And I'm wondering, in this particular body, on this particular day, how is it that those on the left just can't let partisanship go? They have to always be on the attack in this regard. Shouldn't there be some civility, some peace, especially in moments like this?
Because okay, so just to speak about former Speaker Pelosi's speech, her speech was kind of like when you're a comedian, a lower level comedian, following the headliner, like if you were to follow Eddie Murphy after he did his insult. So Paul Ryan's speech was so great that her speech kind of fell flat. But I will say that the attacks from the left with regards to trying to twist this for some political purposes.
Yes.
The reason I feel like one of the reasons why they're trying to do it is because they know they've pretty much lost, and they don't really have necessarily a message anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard any real message from anyone that tries to argue against my beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of anger and name calling.
Exactly.
So even the leadership doesn't know how to convey any sort of message or any semblance of, or they don't have any semblance of stability either right now.
Exactly.
So just like with a sports team, the people who are following this leadership take on the persona of the people at the top.
Exactly.
So if they're not civil, the people underneath them won't be civil either.
Exactly. And I say this in closing with you tonight, that I don't believe those on the right have learned a lesson, nor those on the left. And let me just put it this way, and I'll let you have the closing words. And we're going to have you back in a couple of months as we move forward with your election. But those on the right seem to surrender to the moment and entertain thoughts of gun control, and maybe we should have put tanks in front of the as guardsmanship. And those on the left seem to never give up the whole idea that we didn't tell anyone to shoot anybody, but we're not going to tell anyone not to shoot anybody either. That kind of thing that's going on. There is incivility between those on both sides of the rhetoric, but one seems to be more violent than the others. And I think we have reached a point where there is concern about those who call themselves Democrat socialists. I want you to close it. Tell me where I'm right or wrong, and tell the American people how they can support you in your election.
So I would say I do feel that there's more anger coming from one side than the other. The civility, like I said, it has to come from the top. It's top down. It's interesting that whenever something like this happens, you always see the stories that, oh, we were such great friends and we enjoyed each other's company and we, do all these things. But as soon as the cameras are on, that gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And so that should not be the case, and we should hear more about that. As far as I'm concerned, with regards to the congressional baseball game,
yes,
I was already a sponsor to this game before this happened, and I'll still be attending the game tomorrow night.
Awesome.
And as far as something that I would love for people to do is make sure that when there's adversity, that we should continue to show courage in the face of it.
There you go.
I've experienced quite a bit of adversity, or situations that fear can have an opportunity to kick in.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say you should try to exhibit the courage that is deep within everyone.
Exactly. Jeff, how can people get in contact with you? How can they support your campaign this summer and get you prepared for the fall run for 2018?
So you guys can reach out to me on Facebook. My campaign Facebook page is Jeff Dove for Congress. You can also reach out to me on Twitter, Jeff Dove Jr. or Jeff Dove 4VA. You can reach out to me on my website, www.doveforcongress.com. I'm accepting volunteers. There's a donation portal. You can see my press releases and any news that comes up and any events that I'll be attending as well.
Well, thank you so much for your courage and your protection of our country and the U.S. Army. Also, thank you for being courageous enough to go out tomorrow to the baseball game where everyone will be wearing an LSU uniform in honor of Congressman Steve Scalise from Louisiana. God bless you, Jeff, and thank you so much for being on the Exceptional Conservative Show tonight.
All right, God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Jeff Dove. He is running, forgive me, for U.S. Congress out of the 11th Congressional District of the Commonwealth of Virginia. His congressional district borders on the area that was involved in this morning shooting of a congressional leader, the majority whip from Louisiana, Steve Scalise. I want you all to know that from this point on of the show, Jeff is a man of great reason and should be a congressman. I don't know how reasonable I shall be, knowing that Socialist Democrats since 2008 have been targeting, whether it be through the IRS or other means, conservatives and Republicans, and now they have determined that the pen isn't as mighty as the sword. When we come back, we will be talking with none other than Lonnie Poindexter about today, its affairs, and many other issues. You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show on a very special night in Washington, D.C., as we are considering the political assassination attempt by a gentleman from Illinois who operated within the Bernie Sanders campaign for the presidency of the United States of America. We'll be back.
I'm the executive chef of the Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that we cook here and spice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce, we start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck, ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burger, and we're gonna grill it to perfection. After I flipped the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat mix a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit. What a rock!
6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland is the place you need to be for the rest of this particular weekend. It is none other than, of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is Infuse Restaurant, Infuse Restaurant, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. Make it your place this particular weekend for the good times. Ladies and gentlemen, let us get Lonnie Poindexter on the line. This is a jam-packed show tonight, and with good reason. Man, I tell you, what a way to wake up in the early morning. I tell you that.
Welcome to Lion Chasers, where faith and public policy intersect. And now, your Lion Chaser in the good fight of faith, Lonnie Poindexter on Urban Family Talk.
We're not saying that there's not instances where there's maybe racial injustice somewhere. This is America, and people are human, and there's sin in the world. He's a president of first. He's the first president to say that America is not a Christian nation any longer. But we'll pray for our enemies while we defeat them.
You keep running folks from
Hang in there, one ringy dingy.
An elected Republican in Council in Baltimore City for 50 years.
And the co-captain's chair with me today, Reverend Ralph Chittams. What's happened is the social justice movement has now been hijacked
Hang in
by
there.
a godless movement. Don't be bamboozled. Ladies and gentlemen, Frederick Douglass was a gun-toting conservative. It's not a black or a white issue. It's a God versus anti-God issue. And I know those would say, well, it's all rigged. It's all a game, Lonnie. Because I get that a lot. And there are the crew that has their bags packed at the train station waiting for Jesus to come back. We'll be here in a minute. Well, train went by. Another train. No, it wasn't Jesus. But he's coming. Meanwhile, Rome is burning. The host of the Black Man Thinking radio show. Welcome to the show, Stanley Levy.
Good morning, Lonnie. How are you?
The core issues the bull elephants aren't in the home. We got to do away with the entitlement programs and the things that hamstring us.
And that's where the conservative viewpoints really resonate for my generation.
I want to welcome to the show the host of the Exceptional Conservative Show, and that's my brother Kenneth McClinton. Welcome, brother.
Lonnie, it's an honor and privilege always to be with your ever-expanding audience.
Let your listeners be Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter. If Lion Chasers sounds right for your station or network, contact Will Addison by email, waddison@afa.net. Encourage your listeners to be Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter and Urban Family Talk.
Lion Chaser Extraordinaire, Lonnie Poindexter. It is an honor and privilege to have you on the air with us tonight. Thank God for your presence.
Well, thanks, brother.
Well, it's always great to have you here. Lonnie, I don't know about you. I woke up, I wasn't listening to Shannon and Mike this morning because they got it down pat. They handle everything so well. They got a great top-notch show. But I should have been, because they were breaking the news that Louisiana Congressman and Majority Whip Steve Scalise was one of 5 who was shot early this morning, targeted by an Illinois supporter of the great socialist in chief Bernie Sanders from Vermont, the independent. First and foremost, am I Christian enough to say that he deserved his just end? And is that too Christian-y of me?
Brother, I'm responding in social media to those who are on the other side of the aisle that happen to come from the community where I grew up, who are just about saying everything other than this is just the dirt, and blaming it all on President Trump. it's really fascinating to me how they can flip this, but yet they're doing that. As I'm sure you're also seeing, is the liberal pundits already coming out using this tragic event as justification for greater gun control, when in fact it was guns that made sure this individual did not kill more people.
Exactly. And God bless the Capitol Police, members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and others, Alexandria Police Force, State Police, and others from the Commonwealth of Virginia. You all did a marvelous job protecting and serving the community. But a lot of people don't understand, those bullets didn't stay on the baseball field. Those bullets went outside of the fences into people's homes. And it's just how great God is that no one else but the 5 were injured. And while Steve Scalise is in critical condition tonight, his injury is to his hip. I mean, my God, that's simply amazing.
It is amazing. It means that the guardian angels were working overtime, and I'm just happy that more folks weren't shot. I understand over 100 rounds were fired from the individual who eventually died.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad your average vote was not a good shot.
Exactly. If he was a conservative, it would have been very dangerous. But that goes back to the other thing. Everyone talks about gun control, but whenever you have these issues regarding mass murder and political assault and assassination, generally the person who's involved in it is a Democrat. Shouldn't we ban Democrats from carrying guns or getting them?
You know, in light of this whole big agenda for gun control, I said we should start with them, and all Democrats must be fingerprints and registered, and not with only Daisy BB guns or slingshot.
That's right. You only get a Daisy, baby. If you can't handle that, that's too bad.
I'm telling my age now. Anyone that knows what a Daisy BB gun is too old.
I know what you're talking about. Oh my God! You know when you got one of those, you thought you were the man. Yeah.
You're the man.
I got fire.
With those doggone things.
I got firepower, baby. I'm packing on my 10-speed. Anyway, in terms of this, I want to know, because Lion Chaser Show is heard by millions across the country every single day. What was the response of the Lion Chasers, the urbanites, the Churbanites, forgive me, who tune in and listen to your program?
Well, I tell you, the chat room lit right up with great commentary, as usual, from them. They're a learned group, and they're student to key areas, faith and public policy, and where those two ideas intersect. But the comments coming from them were, shock and dismay, but also giving kind of the lay and the backdrop. And we were fortunate enough to have Pastor Rob Chittams on the show today, who comes out of your broadcast stable.
That's right.
And talked about the issues, and you guys gave some great perspective on what's taking place. People need to understand this is not some grassroots effort. It's not isolated events. This stuff is all orchestrated, and it all starts from the stirring of a pot, starting with the drive-by media that have stirred the pot into a frenzy, which activates the crave.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, we all know that there are some rabid individuals on both sides of the aisles. But if you go over our history, there seems to be a substantial number of socialists, Marxists, fascists, rabid individuals on the left who don't mind going into churches and tearing them up, or turning over Jewish cemetery little things right there. I can't think of the word right now.
But the gravestone.
Gravestone. Thank you, sir. But
gravestone, yeah.
Exactly. But no one ever seems to blame them. Are we in the middle of a civil war that's been unpronounced and unaccepted by those of us on the right?
we're certainly in the beginnings of civil unrest, which turns into civil war. And you can rest the blame right at the feet of the church for lack of participation in being salt and light in our nation. You know, God was a pretty smart dude when he created America. He gave us different ways to fight. We can fight on our knees in prayer and then getting up and doing something about the core issues of our day, and we can bring about the change that we seek. But if we don't do that, we end up having to fight literally, and we're approaching that time, and Pastor Ralph mentioned that today. He thinks we're in a time where there's going to be shots fired across the bow. I think there's already shots fired across the bow, but he means that there'll be civil unrest in the street. And, you know, here's the one thing, if you don't hear anybody or hear anything about anybody from the right side of the aisle, even on the fringe, going out and doing anything crazy like this idiot did today.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, woe unto them if civil unrest starts and the common sense people have had enough and they begin to march in the streets. For us, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I believe so too. And a lot of people say that because we are revealing these things that we're instigating them, and we're not. I believe instigation is when you stand in front of a camera as a comedian and hold up the bloody head of Donald Trump, or you. Yeah, I think that's instigation. I think instigation is having major corporations fund a theater operation in which Donald Trump is stabbed as Brutus. You know what? I think they've been instigating for a long time, and we've been very, cowardly lying, sitting back saying, oh, they don't really mean it. These people mean it, and they mean it to death.
They really mean it.
Is there hope, sir?
You hit the nail on the head. They really mean it, and they are hell-bent on filling out their agenda. And if we don't get off our butts and do something about it, like Pastor Ross said, we'll be fighting in the streets, because that's the last bastion of protection against tyranny, is literally fighting in the streets for inalienable rights, as well as our rights given to us based on who we are as a nation and a people.
You know, there's other things I wanted to talk with you about, but I've run out of time in terms of doing it. But I do want to next week talk with you about how the Washington Post chose today to pick on the Southern Baptists and call them racist. These guys are serious. They are targeting us. They are serious about their game. And we keep playing like little kids, like, oh, they don't mean it. They are serious. They are about overthrowing our country. And forgive me, how can people listen to your program, sir, and hear a more sensitive, kind, and gracious man than myself?
Well, they can listen in tomorrow, because I'll certainly be talking about this rocks being thrown at the Southern Baptist. And then go to urbanfamilytalk.com. That's urbanfamilytalk.com. The name of my show is Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter. The show is about the intersection between faith and public policy. And the show is named Lion Chasers. It's based on 1 Chronicles 11:22, the one of David's mighty men who went down in a pit on a snowy day and went one-on-one with a lion and prevailed. Uncommon men and women of faith willing to speak up in these dark and evil days.
There you go. Lonnie Poindexter, we love you, man. We appreciate you. And you keep doing what you're doing, because you're changing the world. God bless you, bro.
Thanks, brother. Just want to be like you when I grow up.
Likewise. Lonnie Poindexter, Lion Chasers. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow from 11 to 1, Become a Cherubinite. We will be back with the Kraken right after this. But before we get the Kraken back, after we take this commercial break, I want to play for you, and I hope that you'll be able to hear it, that these guys are not playing with you. You may think, whether you're Red Nation Rising, Talk Radio America, SHR, High Plains Pundit, you might be thinking to yourselves right now, don't worry about it, Ken. It's just a few people on the fringe. There is no difference between a gang leader, a Mohammedan who's jihadist bent, and a socialist Democrat. They are hell-bent on turning your society over and upside down. And if you are the collateral damage, so be it. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Good morning,
I'm Michael Wright.
and I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and
I think
you're
so.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. We are The Right Way with Shannon and Mike.
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time
Live on SHR Media,
and on TECN,
where we'll be talking about all kinds of things.
from sports and politics
From food and entertainment,
to money
family,
and anything else in between.
community, holidays, all kinds.
It'll be great. Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Power broker. With home values up and interest rates near all-time lows, you probably know that now is a great time to refinance. Like the Johnsons, who save $436 a month.
$436 a month?
It's simple. Just go to lendingtree.com, compare loan offers for free, and see how much you could save in just 5 minutes.
Well, you said the bank gave you the best rate.
Lending Tree. When banks compete, you win.
I have to do everything myself.
Someone is sleeping on the couch tonight.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
From day's first light to night's last glimmer, your satisfaction is our responsibility. On the range or in the field of duty, you can rely on Brownell's lifetime guaranteed gun parts, tools, and supplies. Anytime, any place. That's how we've done business since 1939. Brownell's.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cut the commercial kind of short. Y'all can forgive me. I hope that you can forgive me. But I want to play this very important piece here. And I hope that you can hear it. It's very important. You have got to understand that if you don't declare war, war can be declared on you. Even if you don't believe it's happening to you, it's been declared. It has always been declared. And in fact, one of the things I want to do at this particular moment, I want to play two quick items for you. One of which you've probably heard before in countless times, but you got to know that this was intentional, and this was the kickoff back in September 18th, 2008. This was the kickoff to transforming America.
If you want the next 4 years looking like the last 8, then I'm not your candidate. But if you want real change, if you want an economy that rewards work, and that works not just for Wall Street, but also for Main Street. If you want tax relief for the middle class and millions of new jobs. If you want health care you can afford and education so that your kids can compete, then Alpha, I need you. I need you to go out and talk to your friends and talk to your neighbors. I want you to talk to them whether they're independent or whether they are Republican. I want you to argue with them and get in their face. And if they tell you that, well, we're not sure where he stands on guns, I want you to say he believes in the Second Amendment. If they tell you, well, he's going to raise your taxes, you say, no, he's not, he's going to lower them. You are my ambassadors. You guys are the ones who can make the case. And if you'll knock on some doors with me and make some phone calls for me, then I promise you, we will not just win Nevada, we will win this general election. And you and I together, we're going to change this country and change the world. Thank you, everybody.
What he said at that particular event was lie to them. Just like the Mohammedans talk about jihad, he said lie to them. When they ask you questions about the Second Amendment, tell them that he believes in it. When they ask you questions about if he's going to lower your taxes, tell them sure he will. He said lie to the American people. Do what you got to do to get me in the office because we're going to change it. And if you got to, get in their faces, argue with them, make them surrender to you. ladies and gentlemen, do we know that it worked? Yes, we know that it worked. How do we know, ladies and gentlemen? I want you to pay attention to this clip. The 9 deadliest leftist anti-Trump attacks that have happened on record.
Has always been ugly and highly polarized, but never to the extent we see today. Here are 9 deadly anti-Trump attacks that will leave you disgusted. You won't believe what the man in number 2 did. Number 9. Beaten and robbed. A few days after the elections in November 2016, a video made the rounds online showing a man being brutally beaten in the middle of the street in Chicago. The assault was filmed by an accomplice to the assailants. The footage starts with a middle-aged white man lying on the ground, with 2 younger black men kicking and punching him repeatedly. The cameraman and an onlooker are heard encouraging the act. The struggling man then gets up and rushes to his car, where a woman, who is assumed to be associated with the ones assaulting him, is shamelessly going through his car. As the victim grabs the woman from behind, one of the assailants rushes towards him and lands repeated punches on the man's head. The person recording is heard laughing with his friend, chanting together, "Beat his ass, don't vote Trump, don't vote Trump." They also acknowledge that they should leave before cops arrive. In the end, one of the assailants gets into the driver's seat and shuts the door. The poor man knocks on the window, telling him to get out, but the female assailant comes and hits him at the head. The car thief then drives away, with the victim clinging onto his car's rear door window while being dragged through the streets. According to Chicago police, the man was hospitalized and his car was yet to be recovered. Multiple uploads of the clip have been removed from YouTube, but are still present in other platforms. Number 8. Kicked out of a bar. While in San Francisco, a couple of Trump supporters, one wearing a Trump Make America Great Again shirt and the other a Blue Lives Matter shirt, entered a bar called Zeitgeist. Pointing at the Trump shirt, the barmaid asked if they were serious, to which the proud wearer replied yes. The barmaid said that she refused to serve the 2 men and asked them to leave. They argued for a while, and the barmaid then left the counter to ask some bouncers to kick the Trump supporters out. The pair then had themselves chased out into the middle of the street after being pushed and punched at. They recorded the incident on their phone and uploaded the shaky video online. Number 7. High school girl attacked by her classmate. After expressing her hopes for Donald Trump to win the election in November, a female high school girl from California did not expect what would happen. A fellow black classmate approached her from a table outside, took off her glasses, and attacked her. The scene happened outside, with fellow students watching and laughing while recording with their cell phones. You bitch," the attacking girl said while pulling her target's hair and punching her repeatedly. Another girl came in between them and pulled the black student off her victim. Prior to the incident, someone had voiced their support for Trump while making negative comments about Mexicans, to which the victim had replied saying, "One of the few things we can agree on." According to her, her assailant came up to her and asked, "Do you hate Mexicans?" She replied no, and the girl said, "You support Trump, you hate Mexicans," before beating her. The incident was reported and investigated by the school and law enforcement. The school stated that appropriate disciplinary action had already been taken towards the aggressive student, who received suspension. The victim's father maintained his daughter's innocence, saying that she was only showing support for Trump, not hatred towards Mexicans. Number 6. The deadly Black Lives Matter mob. In late September, an angry crowd at a Black Lives Matter protest viciously attacked a young man for wearing a Make America Great Again baseball cap. 21-year-old Arab American Trump supporter named Firas Jabro was standing in the middle of the protest in El Cajon, California, recording the events with his cell phone. It was the second night of protests in the San Diego suburb, where the people were angry at the police for the recent shooting and death of Alfred Olango, age 38. Despite the claims of a peaceful protest, the events escalated into violence, where not only was a Trump supporter beaten, but protesters also confronted directly with the police. According to Jabro, he was harassed and mocked as a white supremacist for his baseball cap. He was then chased down, thrown to the ground, and...
Ladies and gentlemen, those are just a few. We're going to keep going in just a moment, but I just want to let you know those are just a few. We haven't even finished yet. It gets worse.
He was then chased down, thrown to the ground, and beaten by the angry mob. Jabro credited the police for saving his life, who came and protected him at the time, while explaining to the assailants that it was his First Amendment right to be at the event while wearing his cap. Number 5. 11-year-old beaten in a mock election. Assaults against Trump supporters don't just involve adults and high school students, but the violence even extends to elementary school children. A day after Donald Trump was elected president of the United States, an 11-year-old student at Stafford Elementary in Texas was beaten by his classmates for supporting Trump. When the boy went to school that day, the kids were talking about the elections, and one of them asked the class who voted for Donald Trump. The boy answered that he did, which of course was a mock vote, as the students hadn't reached eligible voting age. But needlessly, the other kids came over and pushed him off his chair. As he tried to get up, they started punching and kicking him. The beating went on for a while before being stopped by a teacher. The victim's parents were called, and his father took him to the hospital, where he was treated for multiple contusions. The Stafford Municipal School District suspended the students allegedly involved, and the victims' parents decided to press charges against the students. Number 4. Trump rally attendees assaulted in San Jose. In June 2016, a Trump rally in San Jose, California, spun out of control when a group of attendees were assaulted by anti-Trump protesters. As the Trump supporters were leaving the rally, they were surrounded, mocked, and in some cases attacked. A woman who taunted the protesters ended up being pelted with eggs and water balloons. Rioters jumped on vehicles and snatched rally signs and Make America Great caps off supporters' heads. They went on to burn the hats on the streets and took photos of themselves with the charred remains. Some were caught on camera assaulting Trump supporters directly by punching them. One man was hit hard on the head as he was walking away, leaving a stream of blood running down the side of his head onto his green shirt. Videos circulated the internet showing multiple fights breaking out here and there. The violent protest was eventually cleared by the police, with a few arrests made. 14 victims filed lawsuits against the city and its mayor, claiming that
Visit missingkids.com/aware.
I apologize for that interruption.
police walked them straight into a full-swing riot and did little to quell the situation. Number 3. High school student punched for holding a Trump sign. Angered about a Donald Trump sign, a high school student from Palm Bay, Florida, punched a fellow classmate in the face before going on to fight school teachers. The incident happened one afternoon in early November when a 17-year-old black student named Andre Hudson noticed one of his white classmates waving a Trump sign in the gym. Hudson confronted his peer, and they argued for a while. As tensions escalated, Hudson clenched his fist and swung it hard into the side of the boy's face. Hudson ended up in the principal's office, and when law enforcement arrived, the troubled teenager began cursing repeatedly at everyone. When the officer tried to calm him down, he stuck out his middle finger in the officer's face. He then circled the room and started punching the furniture and shoving things off the desk, saying that he'd punch the white boy when he sees him again. When the classmate he punched earlier was brought in the room, Hudson tried confronting him again and pushed a female teacher who was in his way. The officer present had to hold him in a bear hug to restrain him before he was handcuffed and brought to the police station. He ended up in juvenile detention and was charged with assaults on a student and school official. Number 2. The assassination attempt. During a Trump rally in a Las Vegas casino in June 2016, a 20-year-old British citizen named Michael Sanford tried to go after a police officer's gun. The unemployed young man failed at his attempt and was immediately arrested on the spot. Sanford told the police that he planned to assassinate the then Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. The delusional man claimed to have been plotting the act for a year and was convinced that he would die during the attempt. He was found to be unemployed, living out of his car, and staying illegally in the United States. A CCTV footage revealed that the mentally ill man had been practicing at a nearby Las Vegas shooting range the day before. The gun range owner said that the young man became more and more competent during his session with a Glock 17 pistol. Sanford's family mentioned that he had been diagnosed with autism, and his lawyer told the court that he was delusional during his actions. Sanford pleaded guilty and is sentenced to a year in jail and will be deported back to the UK afterwards. Number 1. Mentally challenged man is kidnapped and tortured. In early January 2017, America was shocked by a graphic footage on Facebook Live, which showcased one of the worst anti-Trump attacks ever seen. The horrific attack in Chicago featured a horrified young white male held captive with his mouth taped and hands tied, as 4 of his kidnappers took turns beating him. The African-American assailants, which included a young woman, can be heard repeatedly yelling Donald Trump throughout the 30-minute recording as they punched and kicked the helpless man. At one point, one of them took out a knife and cut the victim's hair and scalp. His clothes were also cut, and he had cigarette ash sprinkled all over him. According to reports, the victim was a mentally challenged 18-year-old who was walking down the streets before he was kidnapped. His parents dropped him off at a McDonald's and soon received text messages saying that their son was being held captive. Chicago police apprehended suspects of the apparent hate crime, and they are now being charged for multiple crimes, which include kidnapping and battery charges. The victim was revealed to be a classmate of his assailants and had been held captive for at least 24 hours before police officers found him.
Ladies and gentlemen, you tell me if this is not premeditation on the part of those who are socialists in action, ladies and gentlemen. You beat them by the rules. And now they're ready to throw the rules out. And the reason is very simple. They can't win under the Constitution. But they can win if they conquer your language, your culture, and your faith. You want to lose this battle, continue to believe that these are isolated, unobstructed opportunities that mentally deranged individuals are taking advantage of. I tell you that there is greater in common between gang leaders, socialist Democrats, and Mohammedans than people are willing to say publicly. I don't mind. I'll say it publicly on my show. We'll be right back after these commercials with no one better than the Kraken himself, Ref J. Chittams Sr.
So what do you think about ebooks? Maybe you've never read an ebook before, but you're considering giving it a try. Or maybe you've been reluctant to try ebooks because you don't want to buy another expensive electronic device. Or maybe you already enjoy ebooks, but you haven't been able to find titles from your favorite Christian authors. Whatever your situation, ChristianBook.com has the solution. Your trusted source for print books for over 30 years now offers ebooks. Our always free CBD reader allows you to read on the devices you already own without spending money on a new device. Thousands of Christian ebooks at ChristianBook.com means you can shop with confidence and choose from the titles you want. Plus, we are adding new titles all the time. Browse our huge selection of low-priced Christian ebooks the same way you would printed books, only now you can go from shopping to reading in seconds. Simply select the ebook you wish to purchase, confirm your account information, and start reading. Free samples of every ebook are available, so you can preview the book first, before you buy it. Plus, there's no lengthy app downloads and updates. Accessing the CBD Reader is as easy as going to cbdreader.christianbook.com and bookmarking the page. The CBD Reader holds your ebooks and bookmarks for you, no matter what device you're on. So, you can take your entire ebook library wherever you go and pick up right where you left off. Our customizable options make it possible to read your ebooks in different font sizes and styles. Want a large print version? You've got it in seconds with a simple click of the mouse. Already own a dedicated e-reader? Download your ebooks to your computer from your ChristianBook.com account and transfer them to your device. Try ebooks at ChristianBook.com and start reading your favorite books in seconds. Easy, economical, everywhere you want to read. Welcome to ChristianBook.com ebooks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Sackheads Radio Night. Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint, and the Bloviating Zeppelin will be joining the network at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. We want you to be there, so make sure that you go to shrmedia.com. shrmedia.com. You don't have to go that far. Go to the very top of the page, hit the link that says TECN on SHR Media, and it will take you directly to their show programming. Now, with drum roll, please, none other than the great Reverend Ralph J. Chittams Sr., better known as the Kraken, as we get ready to release him on the air. Good evening, sir. It is a pleasure to have you on our program tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Exceptional. How are you, sir?
Just fine. Listen, I want you to know that what happened this afternoon was merely an isolated lone wolf matter. Had nothing to do with angst towards Donald Trump or the Republicans. And so I don't know why everyone's fussing over this. You say, sir, what?
Yeah, and the gentleman on the London Bridge in the UK, that was an isolated incident. Also, it has absolutely nothing to do with radical Islam and jihadi terrorism.
Absolutely nothing. We released the Kraken himself tonight. Kraken, is a great privilege to have you on the air tonight. You've been watching this all morning, all afternoon. You've been making comments along this particular way. I'm quite certain that fellow Democrat, alternatives, those who are on the opposite side of the fence, Democrats who share friendship with you on Facebook and other social media, have been apologizing for the behavior of this gentleman, right?
Oh no, most of them have been so quiet you can't even find them. It was like all of a sudden, it's like Facebook became Democrat-free zone. and the few Democrats that showed up, of course, they're saying, stop blaming the Democrats. It's not our fault, and this is just one guy. But they forget that when Gabby Giffords was shot, the first person banging the drums was Bernie Sanders, who was blaming conservatives and Republicans, and it wasn't even a conservative or Republican who shot Gabby Giffords.
Exactly.
And it's these same Democrats who they want to blame Donald Trump for every, KKK racist action on the face of the earth in America. But now that we have these leftist terrorists running around, they want to apply a different standard and say, no. Well, see, that works for you guys, but those guys, no, they have nothing to do with us. We're innocent. Why are you starting all this trouble and trying to blame Democrats? Liberalism, Marxism, leftism, Democratism is a mental illness.
Thank you.
You guys do not think straight.
Thank you. And I suppose you would agree with me, because I know that you are anti-Second Amendment. You can't stand the Second Amendment. You would agree with me, if there is someone who is a Democrat, that should be the first question on the application to get a gun permit, right?
No, I'm going to answer your question this way. Name the last time a Republican or a conservative in this country attempted an assassination of an elected Democrat.
I can't think of one. I can't think.
Now, we can run down the list of all the Democrats who have attempted assassinations on Republicans. So maybe instead of gun control, maybe we ought to have Democrat control.
Bingo! Thank you. There you go. That's why they call them the Kraken. That just makes good sense. Everyone that's been involved in mass murders, they're all Democrats.
Well, I don't know. To tell the truth, the guy who shot Giffords was an independent.
He was okay. All right.
It's just a Democrat life.
Democrat.
Here's the real deal. Here's the real deal.
Yeah.
If you are a conservative, if you are a Republican, and if you have a profile, meaning that your name is out there in public, people know your face, I will suggest right now, if you're in the right time zone, or first thing tomorrow morning, if you're on the East Coast, that you take your happy face to your nearest gun shop and get strapped. Because these leftists ain't playing.
Thank you. Somebody else who's real. Somebody else who is real. And thank God for Ralph J. Chittams Sr., whose show is on at 8 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on SHR Media and TECN. Thank God for him, because he's telling you the absolute truth. They have been given their marching orders They got those marching orders the day after the election. If we can't beat them, we will kill them.
Right. Again, I mean, we had the university professor who broke the guy's face by hitting him with a bike lock. We had this Antifa, and I can't call her what I want to call her, who embedded a nail into the end of a flagpole and stabbed a horse, a police horse. You know, and Antifa members are now being trained to show up at conservative Donald Trump Republican rallies with knives and weapons. They're showing up with slingshots and ball bearings and knives and other things that they can carry, which are legal but have a lethal capacity. So, here's what I say. You want to play? Okay, let's play. Every Republican in this country needs to get a concealed carry. And when they show up with their ball bearings and their slingshots, we put a 40 cal right in the middle of their chest.
There you go. Give them something to take home. You came to the event, take something back with you. But most people would say at this point that you and I, who are ministers of the faith, are inciting people to violence. Is this inciting or is this just common sense?
No, we are encouraging people to defend themselves, to protect the integrity of their body and the bodies of their wives and their children. We're not inciting violence. We're inciting self-defense. God did not create us to be stupid or foolish.
Exactly. We're talking with Ralph J. Chittams Sr. He is the Kraken. You can not only hear him on SHR and TECN, but you can also hear him on the Ascot Man show on TV One. Roland Martin. When do you go back on?
I'll be on next Thursday.
Next Thursday. You know they waiting up for you.
Let them wait. I've got no. This whole attack. This was an attempted assassination.
Thank you.
This honestly was an attempted mass assassination, and the only reason this gentleman did not succeed in his effort for a mass assassination was because Scalise was there, and as a member of House leadership, the House Majority Whip, he travels 24/7 with executive security. Had he not been at that practice field, there would have been no Capitol Hill police or executive Capitol Service officers. The only person there with a gun would have been this Democrat, and they would have been sitting ducks until the local police arrived, and you would have had a mass casualty event. Thank God Scalise was there with his security patrol.
Thank God indeed. And all I've been saying this particular day is that you have seen the divine hand of God at this particular day. Easily 100 shots in 8 minutes. He should have taken out not only the Republican baseball team, but he could have took out the Nationals and the Orioles in the time that he was shooting. He was such a poor shot. But
thank God leftists don't know how to shoot.
Thank God.
I can tell you right now, if me and some of my conservative boys were out on the field,
no,
that much ammo, and we fired off 100 rounds, we'd have hit more than 5 people.
Yeah. With your eyes closed.
I'm just saying.
Oh my God. But also want to thank the Capitol Police, want to thank the Alexandria Police, the State Police, the FBI, also all the other officials who were there who covered this particular event. But I want to ask you, sir, because we want to give kudos tonight to Shannon and Mike for breaking the story early this morning on TECN. There are those who are saying that, firstly, Hendrickson's Facebook page was left up too long, and that no one should have known that he had worked for Bernie Sanders. Your comments regarding that?
Why are you going to hide the truth?
Thank you. Thank you.
Because that was the first thing. I mean, I'm sitting up and, you know, I'm watching the news and they're breaking this report and you hear all of this. And the first thing, of course, that pops through your mind is radical Islamic terrorism.
Yep.
That's the first thing that pops through your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sit and wait, and then they don't say it. And then it's like, wait a minute, how come they're not identifying who the shooter is? Because it was reported that he was in custody. The initial report wasn't that he had been shot. The initial report was that he was in custody. So they knew who he was, at least from a physical appearance. And then, you know, a couple of hours later, then the reports start coming out. Oh, it was an older, chubby white man. And then you sit back and go, and then you wait for, okay, this is the Democrat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but they were the mainstream media. They were loath to put out the information that an elderly white chubby guy who had asked the United States congressmen who were leaving, who's on this field, Democrats or Republicans? And then when they said Republicans, he goes back to his truck, gets his duffel bag, pulls out his gun and starts firing. That was the last thing the mainstream media wanted to report.
You got
and
that.
Then when the link to Bernie Sanders came up, they really didn't want to talk about that.
Oh no. Oh no.
Right.
Not at all.
Then Sanders gets on the floor of the Congress and makes some half-hearted speech talking about, I don't condone violence and I don't do this and I don't do that. And this was the same Bernie Sanders who just the other day applied a litmus test to serve in government where he said, oh, you can be a Christian, but you can't be a Christian who actually believes in Christianity if you want to be in public service.
Bingo. Bingo. Earlier tonight I've said that there is no difference between a gang leader, a socialist Democrat, and a Mohammedan who's jihadist. Would you concur with that, sir?
Well, what we're seeing right now is with these Antifa attacks and Black Lives Matter and all this other kind of stuff, you are seeing the same sort of behavior that you see from radicalized Islamists. They're not official members of ISIS. They're not a part of the power structure. They don't go to the board meetings. They don't sit at the table with the hard polloi, but they have been radicalized, and then they have been fired off like guided missiles. So in that respect, yes, what you are seeing in this violent behavior from those on the left is the same sort of behavior that we see with these, quote, lone wolf radical Islamic jihadist terrorists. It is the same playbook.
Same playbook.
You jack somebody's emotions up. You don't tell them to do it. You create the environment that causes them to do it, and then you sit back. And the only difference between the DNC and ISIS is ISIS takes credit for their level. The DNC hides their hands and says we had nothing to do with it.
Seth Rich. Anyway, just want to throw that out there. Tomorrow night they will be playing baseball. One of Obama's people said that they should mix everybody up and the Democrats should be on the same team as the Republicans.
Okay, hold on a second. Where the heck has those bozo been in the last 12 hours? And anytime anything else happens, that big-eared freak is all over the television. Where is his public statement?
Exactly.
Anytime he gets an opportunity to run around the country and act like he's still president of the United States and tries to hold court with world leaders, he can do that. But somebody that's been radicalized by his party goes out and attempts to assassinate a dozen Republican congressional members, and he doesn't even have the decency to open his mouth. What about Hillary? Where's her statement? What did she say? She said nothing. What happened today is his fault. It is her fault. It is the fault of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazile, Tom Perez, Keith Ellison, and that whole Democrat power structure.
Harry Reid and all the rest of them. You're absolutely positively correct in terms of that. And it is the government branch, in the bureaucratic branch of government, as well as the pulpits of urban America, that have protected these radical terrorists. They keep them in their pews, and they teach your kids on Sunday morning and on Monday through Friday in the school classrooms to be radicalized. You don't have to wait to go to prison to be radicalized. You just go to public school.
And then God help you to have a brain cell together and can get into an American university.
Oh,
I mean, look what's happening. You have Evergreen College, where if you're a white person, they have the right to tell you to get off campus, because today this campus is just for black people. Woo! And then if you don't go along with your First Amendment right being infringed upon, then all of a sudden you become a Nazi, you become a racist, you become a bigot, and they can go after you physically. And then let's bring it right here to Washington, D.C., American University. You have these little black students up on American University campus. They take over an eating establishment and declare it a safe zone, and now the only people who can go in there and get something to eat are black people. I thought we fought this battle over lunch counters in the 1960s.
Wow.
But the Democrat Party is inciting this racist division simply to try to retain, or rather regain, power at the federal level. They have no ideas. All they ever want to do is jack people up on emotions, elicit a Pavlovian response, and now that response has turned violent. And if we on the right don't wake up and arm ourselves, we are going to catch major beatdowns.
Now, you and I both, as Christian men, have been telling people that you have been experiencing 1861 through 1863, virtually at this point, the preamble to the Civil War. Is today the day that the leftists have taken us into a new Civil War?
I have been saying for months that it was my biggest fear that the United States was going to devolve into civil war. And I also said the only question I had was which side was going to fire the first shot. Was it going to be a wingnut from the left, or was it going to be a wingnut from the right? Today, that question has been answered.
Well said.
And if we don't think that we're involved in a civil war, then you need to just, I don't know what you need to do if you can't see that we are now involved in a civil war.
We are. And actually, ladies and gentlemen, I believe France is still taking in immigrants. So if you haven't figured it out just yet, and you don't want to fight, France is available. I want to ask you one last question, because you know how quirky DC is. And I wanted to get your comments on this before you go. The DC government has been spending $20,000 to paint LGBTQ murals on storm drains. Artists are receiving $775 each for the designs. And I wanted to ask you, sir, is this the type of spending that Americans who are throwing money into the coffers of Washington, D.C. should support and expect?
No, it's an absolute waste of time, money, and it's nothing but pandering, again, to an affinity group, because that's all Democrats have right now. They have to do everything that they can to appease affinity groups, but the problem is their affinity groups are now warring against each other.
Yes.
You had the blacks warring against the homosexuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, during the Pride weekend, with the blacks saying, if you don't sign on to the mandate of Black Lives Matter, you know, we don't like you white homosexual cops because you're just a bunch of racists, just like the white straight cops. So the alliance that the Democrats have tried to put together by mobilizing all of these affinity groups is crumbling as each group tries to out-victim the other group. I've been victimized more than you. No, you haven't. We've been victimized more. No, you haven't. We've been victimized. And they are losing their alliances.
Yeah.
And so they have to ratchet up the pressure. And what better way to do it than just go violent? Now, here's something else that people need to understand.
Yep.
Why did Mueller tonight release a statement that Donald Trump was under investigation for obstruction of justice? He did that to change the subject, to deflect away from the fact that the Democrat Party is now the party that endorses terrorism.
Yes.
And so on the day when you had Democrats ostensibly saying, we need to come together as a country, we need to put this kind of violence has no place. When one U.S. congressman is attacked, it doesn't matter his or her political affiliation, we're all attacked. And then a few hours later, what do the Democrats do? They go right back to a partisan attack on the president to gin up their base to go out tomorrow and commit more violent atrocities.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is known as the Kraken, and you can hear him on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays on SHR and TECN. Ralph, we love you, man, and we thank you so much for being on the air with us. We've got to put the Kraken back in. And again, tell everyone what the motto is for your particular programming.
Well, the show for the right guy with Reverend Ralph J. Chittams Sr., which is on SHR and TECN Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 8:05 to 8:55. I say at the beginning and ending of every show that I am human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. And if we as Americans could grab a hold to that concept, the first line, that I am human by race, and get away from these man-made divisions, that would be the first major step towards this country coming together. But last night, the tagline for my show was, America is dead. The America of my youth is dead, and Democrats have killed her.
Wow.
And if America isn't dead, she's certainly on life support. And we conservatives, we better get busy, or America as we knew her is going to die.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kraken, we call him Ralph J. Chittams Sr. We love you, man. We'll talk with you tomorrow night at 8:05 p.m. on SHR Media and TECN. Thank you, bro. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back after this commercial with none other than the beautiful and vivacious Shannon Wright.
From day's first light to night's last glimmer, your satisfaction is our responsibility. On the range or in the field of duty, you can rely on Brownell's lifetime guaranteed gun parts, tools, and supplies, anytime, any place. It's how we've done business since 1939. Brownell's.
The late night conservative talk show in America, TACN Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best conservative talk. TACN Shannon and TACN Clanton. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to be up here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late night conservative talk, TACN Radio.
With home values up and interest rates near all-time lows, you probably know that now is a great time to refinance. Like the Johnsons, you save $436 a month.
$436 a month?
It's simple. Just go to LendingTree.com, compare loan offers for free, and see how much you could save in just 5 minutes.
Oh, you said the bank gave you the best rate.
Lending Tree. When banks compete, you win.
I have to do everything myself.
Someone is sleeping on the couch tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We certainly are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, but it's the power of liberation first to the Republican and then the socialists. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Ralph J. Chittams Sr., the Kraken, put it very admirably well that we have gotten the first shot of the Civil War. You will look back over history and know that this was the day. This was the hour. Steve Scalise was the victim. This was a day for political assassination. And ladies and gentlemen, the individuals that began breaking that story early this morning, none other than Shannon Wright and Michael Wright of the Right Way. You can hear them on SHR Media and TECN at 7:05 a.m. Make it your drive time morning experience. Shannon, it is an honor and privilege to have you on the air tonight.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here with you.
It has been a long day for you, has it not?
A little bit.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to you and Mike for breaking the story early this morning. When it first came over the line, what were your thoughts that a congressman was a part of a mass murder attempt?
I really didn't even know what to think. I just wanted to find out what was going on. I was hoping it was an error.
Yeah.
We just really wanted to find out, what was going on, the details of who, what, when, where, and why. We got the how part. That was pretty clear. We just wanted to know.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, today they agreed to pray together and a masterful speech, although I'm not a big fan of Paul Ryan. He did masterfully, but he was followed up by Nancy Pelosi, who did a wonderful job of inserting partisanship and political grandstanding on this particular solemn day. Have Ralph and I got this picture all wrong? Is this pretty much the left saying, since we can't beat you, we will kill you?
Wow. Okay.
Was that loaded or what?
I sure hope. Well, that was something was. I sure hope that's not what the message is with this. That would be a very sad commentary. That's just wrong on a whole bunch of levels. That's spoiled child tantrum, taking your ball away from the playground, don't know how to share. I mean, just a whole bunch of levels of wrong, if that were to actually be the case. So I'm just going to stay prayerful that this was a lone crackpot and not a bigger message.
Wow. Now, I want to ask you tonight, because Baltimore is in a race with Chicago for the murder capital of America. I know it's very tough for you all. You're trying to catch up to Chicago, and you're doing a wonderful job. I think there were 6 killings in the past 12 hours. In all reality, there are 3 groups that are being blamed: gun owners, gangs, and drug dealers. Why gun owners? Why are they being blamed for all this?
Because, see, here's the thing with that. Obviously, the concept is, if you are shooting someone, you own a gun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you would blame the gun owner. However, the next leap would be that one side is going to want to claim that it's a reason for gun control. And the other side is going to rightfully claim, well, it ain't the ones getting the permits that, for the most part, doing the shooting. Now, not in Baltimore. I can't talk about what happened down in Virginia today. But in Baltimore, it is not the ones getting the permit that's getting the shots fired.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you can certainly waste whatever time and money and resources you would like to attempt to pass more gun control, but you will not be controlling the guns in the hands of those that are doing the shooting.
Well, yeah, in terms of that gun control thing, because I don't know, I think they just give people guns on the street of Baltimore. They just hand them out or whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? When I need to go hang out, somebody can hand me some, because I know how to use them.
But there seems to be a very tentative.
You know, I gotta say.
Yeah.
There is one thing that you can tell: folks that have guns legally and don't. Ones that have. No, I shouldn't say this. All right, I'm gonna say it anyway, just because I feel like it.
Go ahead, girl.
Those of us that have guns correctly, you can tell the difference. When we shoot, we don't miss.
Wow.
When you see, it's in the newspaper, 6 people got shot in the leg.
There you go, exactly.
You know
Man, I got a bullet in my arm.
Man, 3 people got shot in the butt.
Definitely a Democrat shot. It had to be a Democrat shooting.
You know, I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Oh man, and you know, and we're fortunate too that they are so miserable as shots. I don't know if we should be singing.
I was trying to figure that out because I had an opportunity to go on a live fire range outdoors in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I was on the range with some Marines and former Marines, active and former Marines. And I'm not bragging, because when you say something that's a fact and the skill that God gave you, it's not bragging. But I'm a pretty good doggone shot.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have not spent an exceptional amount of time on range. But I can handle automatic, semi-automatic, and you know, some other things. So it makes me wonder, if you go into an area that's got a whole bunch of people, and you got a weapon that's fully loaded, and you don't hit nobody, or you hit 1 or 2 people out of 50 or 60, obviously, even though what you do is nefarious, you're not good at that either. You should stop.
You should stop. You should. There were 100 shots, 5 people who were hit, 1 person in the hip, the other in the foot. Definitely done by a Democrat. And so I got to ask you in this regard, shouldn't there just be a ban on Democrats having firearms? Because they do. I
thought you were going to say, shouldn't there just be a ban on Democrats? You know, be a little amusing. But,
no, I want them to self-identify.
When you look at where these folks are getting shot, I mean, let's be realistic for a second. When you pull a gun, you brace. When you don't brace, you get recoil and the shots fly off.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So if you're not braced, when you hit the recoil and you try to rapid fire, you're hitting the ground. You're hitting all kinds of things other than what you thought you were going to be hitting. So clearly, there are things in life you can do. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, a scientist. You can be a good guy. You can be a bad guy. But when you suck at even being a bad guy, you need to sit down.
Sit down. Because you're going to get killed like that. You will get killed like that.
Said, whatever you do, you should be the best at it. And if you can't even be the best at that, you just need to go sit down.
It must suck to really be a Democrat. And while we jest over this particular matter, the truth of the matter is that there is a commonality between Democrat, socialists, Marxists, fascists, and as well gangs that they are bad shots. They have a lot to learn from their sister group, the Mohammedans, who don't appear to be a very bad shot and do a very good work with a sword as well. They don't mind chopping one's neck off. Want to ask you, in fact,
I like sharp objects personally.
okay.
I'm just saying.
Just in time for late night. Anyway.
No, I mean, hey, I'm gonna be straight up with it. If you come in my space, you'll find out.
Oh my God! Sweet.
I like sharp objects.
Sweet,
because
innocent.
I can let the air tire pressure out of you without you making a sound, but a little bit of a hiss from a balloon.
I would tell y'all something.
Nobody knows.
You look at this sweet, innocent Shannon Wright. Did she do it? No. No, not sweet, innocent Shannon. Shannon, we love you. God bless you. We will be listening to you tomorrow morning at 7:05 on SHRT. Yes.
Well, just as important as that, will we still be seeing you tomorrow morning?
Yes, you will be seeing me tomorrow morning. I will be there at 10 a.m. And then I'll be headed over to the event Black Families Matter event at the Heritage Foundation. I will be there between 6 and 8, and I will not be doing New Day Black and Red tomorrow night. I'm taking the night off. I'm giving you all, Ralph, Shannon, and Lonnie, you all have next week off. You don't have to come on the air. It'll just be me doing solo next week. So rest and enjoy, and I thank God for you and for the work that you and Mike do early in the morning to get America going. Listen, God bless you all, and we love you dearly. We love Mike more, but we love you too.
I know, right? He's awesome. I get that. I'm all right with that.
we love you, Shannon. Shannon Wright, the right way, early in the morning, 7 a.m. Make sure that's part of your drive time. We'll be right back right after this break.
It's a love story like no other. From God's heart to yours. And for 30 years, it's been at the heart of every book, Bible, CD, gift, and resource from ChristianBook.com. Over 500,000 products, always at the very best value. ChristianBook.com. Everything Christian. Because it's our story too.
From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. It's a new day on New Day, Black and Red.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say just one thing to you. I love you all truly. I have enjoyed my time with you tonight with great phone calls with great people, Jeff Dove, Lonnie Poindexter, Ralph J. Chittams Sr., and Shannon Wright. All I can expect of you is to do just one thing, and that's to go to SHR Media right now, shrmedia.com, to listen to the best late-night conservative talk show in America. I will see you again on Monday night. I want you all to rest and relax. I will be getting the troops in order for our transition to internet television, and we'll be working on a lot of things. But I want to thank you again. God bless you. If you don't remember anything else I say, God bless America. Now it's time for America to bless God. We'll see you next week.